Welcome to today's lunchtime chat with IDS. Today's topic is video recording basics, sound levels, subject lighting, frame and composition, environment, recording format and dimensions. Sound. It's really the most important component of recording. So how do we set sound? Most computers will have a color bar, lights up green, and then if you speak a little louder, it lights up yellow. If you speak a little louder or too loud, then you see that it goes into the red. If even once in a while when you're speaking, it pops into the red area, turn down your inputs. Room ambience and background noise. Distracting room ambience like echo or other unwanted noise is avoided or reduced as much as possible. That's ideal. You might wonder, how can I make a room less echoey? This is the space I have to work in. How do I do that? Echoes usually happen when there's not much in the room. There might not be rugs, or the furniture in the room has hard surfaces. The sound is just bouncing off of all the surfaces. You can bring in pillows, maybe a cushy chair, absorb some of the sound that's bouncing around the room. Background noise. Not always possible to control your recording environment, especially at home. And often we don't notice these sounds. It's super helpful to have a set of headphones handy. Plug them into your computer and listen to what is being recorded. And that may bring to your attention a sound that you can then go and address. There's different headphones, the ones that go in your ear, the earbuds. There's ones that sit on your ears, and then there's the ones that cover your ears. Those are really the best for isolating the sound so that you can really hear what's coming through your computer. Microphone. This could be the mic on a set of earbuds. Recordings using earbud mics oftentimes are quite good. Sometimes they're not so good. Maybe the earbuds are older. You just have to listen to see what the quality of the mic is on the earbud. A headset typically is great, and you can position it so that no matter where you move your head, the mic stays the same distance away from your mouth. So it gives you a consistent sound level. And there's the desktop microphones that sit in front of you. Those tend to be more expensive. They don't necessarily always give you a better sound. It's a matter of testing them out. And then there is the computer microphone, which, like the earbuds, oftentimes it gives great sound. Older computers sometimes might have poor microphone setup, or maybe it's just become damaged, so there could be some crackle. But oftentimes the microphones on computers sound just great. Sometimes you get a very slight echo when you're using an external microphone. Make sure that the speakers on the computer are set to off.
Is that kind of like what happens if you're like, if you join a Zoom call and you
Yeah,
get sort of like a delay? That's the kind of effect we're talking about, right? But just on
yeah.
a slightly smaller scale.
Another important element to the microphone is the placement of the mic. If it's on the tabletop, it's at a good distance from your mouth. If you are very animated, if your volume tends to increase as you get going because you're loosening up, being aware of that and placing your microphone so that it's far enough away for you to kind of ramp yourself up, then it'll keep you from clipping or the buzzing sound that you get when you're too loud in the mic. If you have a clip-on mic, set it in a place that is, we like to measure thumb to pinky from your chin, or thumb to the bottom of your fist, depending on how loud you speak. And then make sure that your hair isn't scratching it or jewelry bumping into it when you move around, because that will just scratch the microphone screen and cause distracting sound issues. If the visual presentation is less than ideal, it can be managed by editing and is more easily forgiven by the viewer. But you just can't fix bad audio. You might lessen some of the distracting artifacts, but it usually comes at a cost, meaning while it might fix one problem, it sometimes creates another sound issue. So just taking a few minutes to set up your sound is really the way to go. Speaker skills. This just comes with practice. I don't know if you noticed, but I just did something that is nice to try to avoid, and that's when you make noises with your mouth. They're just natural things that we do, but they can be distracting.
I usually never notice it until after I've recorded myself and I realize, oh my goodness, I click my tongue every time I speak. And it's miserable because I have to re-record.
Yeah, it's so common. So let's see how well I do for the rest of the presentation. Lighting. Don't use lighting that's directly behind you unless you have plenty of light in front of you, because what you're creating is something called backlighting. I suggest not to use overhead lighting and keep lights from shining onto the computer screen. It actually can wash into the camera. You can set up lighting using lamps. Try to keep the lighting to the sides and in the front, and certainly use window lighting if it's available. If you have a window that has a shade that just diffuses the light, pull that down and it will help to create softer lighting. Make note of where you put the lamps and if it was a lower setting or a higher setting, maybe even what time of day it was, because that will change the lighting coming in through windows. Framing and composition. If you're seated or standing in the frame with adequate head and arm space, that's perfect. You don't want to appear too small or too close. Gesturing is a nice dynamic thing to add to a presentation. It's important, however, people can see your gestures. If you're going to have graphics, make sure there's enough space in your frame. More often with lecture videos, it is a lecture being presented with slides. The speaker will start out on screen and then the picture-in-picture box in the corner. That is nice unless it's blocking text on the screen. You may find yourself moving the box around the screen to get it out of the way of the text.
Are there any apps you would recommend for video recording where you could potentially move yourself around and sort of, if you have a sort of a, face in the corner where you could like change the corner or things like that so that it doesn't, if you realize afterwards that you were blocking?
Screencast-O-Matic does that.
Okay. So if you did move it, it would only be move it out of the way at the beginning and leave it.
You can move it out of the way, but sometimes it's difficult to know where your text will land. So it might be better just to not have it at all on the screen.
Yep. Okay. So like this slide we're seeing right here, like it's got that nice open spot at the top. Like that's a perfect place to put it.
Sure.
But you would need to think ahead and make sure that that's always open for every slide in your presentation.
Yep.
Okay.
The environment. Now we've talked a little bit about sound in the environment. There's the visual environment, both the one you're recording in and the desktop you're recording on. You can use virtual background. You should test it because it can cut off hair. You move your arm around, your arm might disappear. Sometimes it's better just to have a natural background. Your desktop environment, that's everything that the viewer sees on your desktop. If you're sharing your entire desktop, clear it of folders and files that might be around the edges. Oftentimes we get notifications. Depending on the way you're sharing your screen, those may pop up in your presentation. Format and resolution. We use video recorded in MP4 format at Uni Online. It's also what most computers and screencast applications like Screencast-O-Matic output in. Resolution refers to a couple of things, the size and the quality of the recording. It's determined in the settings before recording, also when you're saving that recording or exporting it, the size of the screen and the quality that it exports in. Computers now save in or export in 1280 by 720 or 1920 by 1080, which is larger. Either one is fine. YouTube also displays its video in 1280 by 720. Sometimes the size of the video output will pop out in other dimensions. And that's, for example, when you're using Screencast-O-Matic, you are able to size the window just how you want. We really recommend using the largest size screen you can. And when you save the video, that you save it in the highest quality. Well, I'm so glad you joined us.